Welcome to Weakness to Peakness. This is Adrian here. I allowed myself to go up in weight. Rather than going up by 5 pounds, I kind of committed to everybody, and I should have committed to myself. I went up by actually 20 pounds in total. So I went from 25s on the barbell to 35s. And this is where my topic comes in today. Ego versus confidence. Really understanding the difference at the gym and why I think the confidence is more optimal. So I was able to perform the weight. However, this led to many challenges for me. I ran into the issue of, a set of 10 that was controlled with about 2 seconds down for a bench press and about 2 seconds on the chest to a second up, turned into about 1.5 seconds down and not really holding the position long enough and throwing back up, and not being able to do a full set of 10 with ease and with good form by the time I got into my 4th and 5th sets, where I actually had to do partials, which means I still did my 10. However, I did 8 in my first bit of that set, rested for about 5 to 10 seconds, and then finished off the other 2. I found this inoptimal because it took more time. It felt like I was utilizing more energy, and I wasn't doing it with good form. So I didn't get as much of a pump. You would say I didn't feel as much mind-muscle connection. I didn't feel like I was really getting that burn, that soreness that naturally comes from working out. So, as I said, I would get more into what I did and why I probably shouldn't. I wanted to go over this and really get into the topic. So like I said, I want to discuss ego and confidence when you're at the gym. Both ego and confidence can influence your journey in pretty much anything. However, in fitness, ego can get you hurt. Confidence is less likely to get you hurt. And although they seem similar, I'll define them in a moment. They actually really have different impacts on your progress, your behavior, and your overall well-being. As I kind of discussed some of the impacts and changes that it affected my workout. So this is kind of my way of saying, be a confident lifter. Be confident in what you're doing during your fitness journey, whatever it may be. But don't be an ego lifter. Now, it feels nice to be like, I can throw up 150 pounds, but if you're doing it in poor form, the potential of hurting yourself or injuring yourself, etc., can be really bad. So let me first define what ego and confidence is, in my opinion. Ego, I know the definition of ego may be slightly different, but ego normally is like an inflated sense of self-esteem or self-importance, and a desire to prove oneself to others or even to your own self. It can lead to competitive, stubborn, even reckless behavior, I'd say. Confidence, on the other hand, is a belief in oneself and your abilities and your potential. And it's built on your self-awareness and your competence. So me saying before, I know I was easily hitting the 85 and I should have just gone up 5 pounds and then slowly produced to make sure that I'm maintaining that same speed control, that same pump, that same ability to control the weight, tempo, etc., so that I continue on with a good burn, and I could probably stay within my same time constraints. Confidence also promotes a balanced and positive / self-assured approach, especially in fitness. So they are very similar in contextualness. However, one I feel is more reckless. It's kind of like, I'm trying to think. It's kind of like a person off the street coming to do a long jump and a person who's been doing track and field for many, many years doing the long jump. One has confidence because they have performed the function. They continue to build and strengthen and slowly progress. Whereas the person off the street's like, oh, well, at home I can do this no problem. Or he can do it, I can do it type mentality. And we're not all the same. We may feel that we can do those things, and I would say that's the difference between ego primarily, is that it's slightly detached from reality, whereas in confidence, everything is based on what you can identify as reality and what you've proven, versus ego being like, oh, I can do this, and pushing yourself maybe beyond your means. The negative impacts of ego really come down to, your risk of injury, poor technique. It can also be a negative if you happen to be in an external gym environment, whereas I'm in a home gym, it doesn't really impact anybody. But if I would have, let's say I would have actually been smart enough to remember to flip up my camera, and it wouldn't just be a black screen of me grunting doing the exercise, you would have seen my poor form, my inability to perform sets at the optimal way. And let's say that then you were to repeat any of those actions in the same form or fashion, you potentially hurt yourself. I'm just saying that lifting weights too heavy, or pushing beyond your safe limits, or performing it in a poor form can definitely greatly increase your chance of injury. Additionally, the desire to show off can lead to that improper form technique, which then in the long term hinders your progress, because I'm so sorry, a little bit of hiccups, but the poor technique can then lead to hindering progress down the long term, because your form while you're low should be built up so that it becomes second nature. You know exactly how to push the weight, you know exactly what speed, you know exactly what tempo, and you know what your body can and can't do, versus fighting the equipment or pushing beyond your means. I will say my chest was not what was giving up on my chest press. My triceps were giving up. And additionally, because of that, I know that on some of the last sets, I was fighting through, just trying to keep my arm in a very good 45 degree angle position. It was very difficult, and I felt my arms flaring, trying to push additionally, and these are bad things. Just poor form. And like I said, beyond that, if you happen to be in an external gym, additionally, this can create a bad environment around others. Because one, you're either going to do very well in the very, slim portion of people that are just naturally successful at things. They're going to do very well, and they're going to look like very impressive. But many people will create an environment that's more hostile to everyone, because grunting, screaming, doing things that just aren't quite the natural form. And this can mess with other people's performance. This can affect their morale or their experience in the gym. We want this to be a welcoming experience. I know how difficult it was for me more from embarrassment of myself, because I allowed myself to get in the shape that I'm in to go into the public gym. However, there are many people that's their only option, and they definitely don't want to go there and then feel like not only is this already kind of an environment where they don't understand that many of the strong fitness people there are just like them, and I mean many gyms and people I know go to the gym are very, very welcoming. However, they may feel alone, and also, you know, they're the focal point in their minds. It may not really be true. They're the focal point, and this would just be another detractor. The benefits, though, of confidence in comparison to ego is that you're building steady progress. Confidence will encourage you to set realistic goals, and you will focus on gradual improvements rather than the quick advance leading to sustainable progress. This means that you will be able to perform that action over and over and over again, basically in your sleep, and with a steady progression overflow, which will allow you the time to tell when, oh, I have reached my stopping point. I need to continue to improve my form, improve my strength, improve my technique at this level before I move on to the next. Your proper form and technique will come from benefits of confidence, because individuals who properly prioritize their form and technique highly reduce their risk of injury. They're ensuring their workouts are effective and that the time was spent well. Additionally, it should make for a positive environment if you're in a group setting, because it will foster a supportive and collaborative gym culture, I assume. I know in the past that was the way it was for me, where individuals encourage and uplift each other, because your strengths will allow you to see, hey, maybe there's a weakness in someone, and you may be willing to say, hey, you maybe don't need this, but this is my tip. Or you've seen someone visually just happens to see you in your form, and they're like, well, maybe someone comes over and says, I saw that you were going down real slow on your bench, and you were holding it down in the down position really long. Were you struggling with the weight before you're pushing up? And you can explain what you're actually doing. That, you know, you're trying to build that time under tension while you're separating your muscles. At the same time, you're maximizing that lengthened part of your muscle while it's in its lengthened position. I think other fitness gurus or influencers maybe can explain this a little bit better than I can. However, when a muscle's in the lengthened position, it's at the optimal point for micro tears or the micro damage that is required for a muscle to require itself to repair itself. When it repairs itself, that is when it grows. Additionally, in its most lengthened form, you're also ensuring the muscle has the ability to flex and get to its maximum volume. Leaving it in that position allows it to be in that optimal position before pressing back up, and for every exercise. These factors can definitely help when you're dealing with other people, or even your own self, just being aware of that confidence. And how should I have approached this differently? I should have allowed my self-awareness, or you know, the angel and the devil. I should have allowed that little angel voice in my head to say, no, follow your strategy, increase the weight by 5 pounds. Instead, I allowed the devil voice to hear my head say, oh, you hit that 85 pounds, no problem. You could do 105, not an issue, not a problem. You got this. And mentally, the devil's right. I could do it. However, optimally, I should have followed the progressive plan. I should have probably jumped from that 85 to 90, and then to 95, and then I would still get to the same weight, and I probably wouldn't have put myself through an hour and a half long session rather than a 45-minute session normally. I probably also wouldn't have sacrificed my form, and I also probably would have gained or retained the same, I want to say soreness, but it really is utilization of each muscle group that I expected to use, rather than, in this case, by jumping to that weight, allowing one muscle group to go into extreme fatigue while the one that I desired to get the most growth, which was my chest, instead of allowing my pectorals or my chest muscles to get the maximum growth, I allowed my triceps or the back of my arm to take the majority of that run, and for them to get tired rather than the muscles that I actually desired, as I kind of discussed in my last why do compound movements video. You know, I didn't encompass the largest muscle of the group. I grabbed, yes, 2/3 of my arms muscle, which is good as well, but these aren't the largest muscle in my upper area. Additionally, I should have stuck with my realistic goal setting. I should have allowed the goal that I had already set, and I knew was achievable, and I knew it was incremental. I should have stuck to it. Knowing where I am, I'm basically a beginner again in this process. I should have just continued down that path and continued to celebrate my small victories rather than going for the big win. Now, I don't have a lot of input other than myself, and I have had some feedback from people, but I'm not getting a lot of feedback or advice or input regarding, is my current plan good? Is it bad? Is it optimal? Is it ideas to improve, ideas to change? And in a way that's good. I mean, it allows me to kind of dictate to myself and keep myself in check during this challenge. However, at the same time, if someone saw my video and said, oh, you know, you're arching your back too much, or you're not arching your back enough, or you know, you're too far up on the bar, so you're not getting the full load into your chest, or many different things. And I'm just using the bench press as an example in any of my performances to be like, okay, this is how you could improve. Maybe I need to go slower down on my squat, and maybe I need to stay into the seated position a little longer before I press myself up. Maybe I happen to be widening my knees while I'm coming up, or I'm pushing my knees in while I'm coming up, or there's something that I'm not mentally capturing because I'm focusing on the movement, but then maybe something that would improve. Be willing to seek guidance. Be willing to take advice or feedback from others that are more experienced, or that are genuinely interested in seeing you grow. And, you know, more importantly than anything, just be mindful of your practice. Incorporate mindful techniques, such as like meditation or deep breathing, find your way to keep yourself grounded during your workouts. Keep yourself in the moment, and I would say don't think too far ahead. That will be one of the biggest confidence builders. Allow yourself to set that goal and continually work towards it rather than, shooting for it. I could go down a story of, and when I was in junior high, I did something like this that really, really failed me. I allowed my ego. I used to be able to run pretty damn fast. My quarter mile time was just under 58 seconds. I used to be pretty good. And then I was like, well, great. I'm gonna sign up for the mile. We had this race at Skull. And I just took off like a flash. And I was leading, I was running, got to that first quarter mile, great. I come whipping around the second quarter mile. On the back half, all of a sudden my breathing is, it's hard, and I'm still trying to kick and push. And well, I got winded, and I went from first to last real quick, as those who kept a steady pace, who were just confident in, hey, this is my speed. If I lose, I lose, but I'm gonna go. And those people who stayed in those paces made it all the way around. I didn't even finish the race. I walked out on the third lap, a failure, because I was too focused on the win. I knew I was fast, but it wasn't about getting that fast speed around. It was finishing, and I didn't do it. So that's why I'm saying, take the confidence in knowing, oh, well, I know I can get that time, but what is my time on 4? I never really tried. And I gave up myself. If I had confidence, I would have taken a different route and maybe left that energy for later in the race where I could kick and really, really push. I just wanted to kind of bring that topic up because that kind of is the reason why yesterday was so rough, and I didn't even get my video out because I spent so much time working with the weight that was a little bit heavier than my body was prepared for to perform at the right way. So I will be probably reducing my weight, not quite as much as just going up by 5 pounds from my original 85, but I probably will be reducing the weight by maybe like 10 pounds. So I'll probably go to a total of 95 pounds on the bar, so 225s and 25s rather than the 235s, just so that I can ensure I'm still getting that controlled management. I clearly can do more weight. My body is ready for it. It has the energy. I just don't want to sacrifice form, and I want to progress in a good fashion, so that by the end of this, I'm close to my goals. So I guess I had some things that I also just wanted to know. Is it just me? Am I the only one who does this? Have you ever noticed, yourself falling into these ego-driven behaviors while at the gym, or in some kind of sport? How did it impact you or the individuals that were in the environment? Like, did you fall into the same pitfalls and traps I did? What practices or strategies do you use to build confidence and to keep your ego in check during workouts? And how do you foster that same confidence and positiveness while you're in the gym, while keeping your, how do you foster self-esteem building for others while keeping your own ego in check? Just curious. So ultimately, like I said, ego versus confidence. Ego may provide that temporary validation, but it can often lead to negative consequences. So whereas confidence, on the other hand, promotes that long-term success, well-being, and a positive mindset. Try to focus on building that true confidence and managing your ego. Don't fall into the same trap that I did. Because that way we can all achieve our fitness goals while contributing to a supportive and encouraging gym community. I thank you all. Have a fantastic day. It's been great having you here. Peace.